Welcome back, everybody, to Temporally Scripted. And in this week's episode, we're going to be digging in to Donald Trump's trading habits, talking a little bit about the Elon Musk versus Sam Altman OpenAI court case. And we'll finish off with a little bit of how much AI is actually costing us economically and as a planet. And of course, we'll sprinkle in some of that top 5 magic and some funny stories towards the end as well, because that's just how we roll here on Temporally Scripted. So before you leave, give us a like, a subscribe, share it with your friends. The man is here. The man, the myth, the legend. He's clean shaven. He's looking good. I'm liking his shirt. Background's looking swaggy. Here he is. It's Adam Garcia. Welcome, my friend.
It's always great to be here. Obviously clean shaven. I've not been sleeping in a bin recently, which is nice. It's good move forward. And yeah, on to brighter, happier days.
I heard you were upgrading from a wheelie to a biffer.
Yeah, exactly. It's much more roomy. Perfect. Lots of cardboard in there. It's nice and snug.
Fantastic. That's great news. Well, in between all of this sort of stuff, this week I was mostly trying to break giant panes of glass in my own face while showering. So
is that a new hobby or?
Yeah, it's something that's really fun, and yeah, it just results in cuts and bruises and various other things. But we're here. We don't let that hold us back at Temporally Scripted. Nothing stops us apart from occasional power cuts or building going on next door.
Yeah, or internet problems, or the platform problems that we used to record sometimes. Yeah, but other than that, pretty much on it, on the ball, ready to go.
If I was Donald Trump,
stories.
Yeah, if I was Donald Trump, I definitely wouldn't be putting any of my money into Riverside as a platform. I'm not sure that Riverside deserves any of his investment, but he has been investing quite a lot this year, according to various news sources. What's that all about? Busy Q1 for Trump.
Well, busy is one word for it, but I mean, we don't have excuse me, we don't have an exact figure, but estimates are around 3,700 trades made in Q1 of this year, which is that's 40 trades per day. That's a lot. That's a crazy amount. And I don't know, I found it kind of funny that this seems like it should be a really big news story, but it isn't. And it's been reported here and there, but say if I open, I don't know, Apple News or something, I've never seen anything about it on there. And I've never seen it anywhere in mainstream. It's only from a couple of niche economics podcasts that I've even got to know about this. So before we go into the legal side of it, it's he hasn't done anything wrong, and there's there is a defense for it, because in the US, the president, there's basically no rules about ideas of insider trading or anything like that. It doesn't apply to the president because previously no president would do it. It was just thought of as a given, but the president would never do anything like that to boost his own trades or even trade whilst being president. However, it seems like Trump had decided that it's kind of all right and there's no rules against it. And so, yeah, we have this kind of crazy situation where we've got at least $220 million in transactions involving US corporate securities. That's one report, with the upper estimate around 750 million, because the filings use this really broad range. And it just seems like it's so much. But I don't know. I just don't know what's going on here, really.
I mean, it's nothing new in terms of people in the US government trading and stuff. I remember there being a whole thing around following Nancy Pelosi's trades and
Yeah.
being able to make better returns on stuff. So I might do the same with Trump. So I recently discovered that because I was at Boots for 1 year after they introduced the company compulsory pension thing, which I obviously went in at minimum level, right? So I think like I put in 2%, they put in 2% or something. And one of my friends said to me yesterday, "It's like, oh, you should check." In fact, he said it to me about 4 years ago. It's like, you should check what's in there because you can manage it, right? If you just leave it in there, they'll put it in whatever and put it in like a 5 to 7% growth thing. So I checked, and there's like £2,400 in there.
Oh, amazing.
So I'm rich, basically. And if if I keep getting 5 to 7% a year until I'm like 68 and can claim it, there'll be at least £8,000 in there. But joking aside, I'm now going to get it out and put it in much more, high risk or things that I know about stuff. Because my friend was like, if you'd have listened to me 4 years ago and followed what I said with like SIPP or whatever, you'd already have 8K instead of like 2.5K. So there is like a big difference. So maybe that's the opportunity. It's like, bit in Pelosi's, bit in Trump's.
Yeah. I mean, because it does seem like he's doing really well out of it. And the defense, so a spokesperson for a Trump organization said that the assets are held in a trust management by a third-party financial institution by an automated system. And so he has nothing to do with it. So I don't know. Maybe you could you could contact these people, the independent company, and see if they can give you some trades or see if you can invest your £2,000 from Boots.
Yeah, I wonder if my £2,000 would even cover 1 month of their fees. Probably not, I would suggest.
Yeah, it seems a little bit unlikely.
So if you did work for any British companies before you came out to Southeast Asia, you should follow up because you'll probably have the same somewhere.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah, I can't think of any companies I've worked for that would.
Yeah. I suppose like Dan with a van. He doesn't really, he doesn't pay company. I get it. Fair enough. Yeah.
It's exactly that.
but back to this story. So is that legal in the UK? Like, can politicians do the same thing in the UK? Do we know? Or is it something that is more of a USA only kind of thing? Because I guess in like Russia and China, it's like they probably do whatever the fuck they want, basically. But then often it's the other way around, isn't it? It's like we think that the regulations are going to be more corrupt or corruptible in countries that we're not part of, and we're morally higher. But then you actually dig into it and find that we're much worse. Sometimes it's like wondering, are we on the are we the Empire side? In a Star Wars reference way. Like you think you're on the, are we basically like we're the Nazis, but we just don't know it?
Kind of like that Mitchell and Webb sketch where they're both like SS officers in World War II, and they're talking to each other. And it's like, are you sure we're the good guys in this? I've just been looking at our uniforms and they've got skulls on. Are you sure we're the good guys? Sure we're not the baddies?
And it is a bit like that, right? So I wonder what the law is in the UK for this kind of stuff. Because certainly these people are privy to information that nobody else would be privy to, and therefore can make decisions based on their investment. But is that the same as reactively making decisions? Because I know there was that news story the other week just before the Iran USA conflict started, where loads of people went and invested money in companies related to what was going to happen there, or even I think maybe gambled on it happening. There was definitely that as well. So
yeah, because there's all this stuff with what is it, Kalshi and Polymarket and things like that, where you can basically bet on anything. And so Yeah, I know there's been like a lot of suspicious activity around those sites. And is that coming from people who have some insider knowledge? Then quite possibly. I think that's been documented before. Um, someone that was in the military knowing that they're about to go and strike a certain place, and so it's like, oh, okay, well, I can I can accurately predict this on Polymarket. But then does it go higher up? And if it does, the bets are much higher.
So presumably right now going and buying land and company shares in Iran and Ukraine is probably good business in the longer term.
It could be, yeah. It's just that sort of time traveling money printer, I guess.
Yeah,
If you know
yeah.
something's going to happen, but then you just don't tell anyone that it's going to happen, but you already know, you can invest in that company, you can buy that stock. It's quite a cool concept that Brett Weinstein calls a time traveling money printer, and that's probably in use constantly by various people.
Yeah, yeah. Well, there is that concept in general of I think it comes from Warren Buffett or one of his students, where they say if you basically go to like the high street of any town, city, whatever, village, maybe not village, but any town or city over a certain population, and you get one of those like yardsticks, yard wheels, and you just walk out like 20 miles from the center and then just buy all the land in that area and just hold it for 20 years, you're pretty much guaranteed to make a shitload of money anyway. It's just
Yeah.
like as simple as that, not even thinking. And I think it comes back to that whole thing of in general, it's always about time in the market rather than timing the market, which is why people who have got a lot of money and are not looking to like get rich quick, so to speak, always win because they buy shit. And if it goes up a bit, they don't care. If it goes down a bit, they don't care because they're looking at it at this trajectory,
Yeah, which is a lot of Warren Buffett's strategies, really. And he's held, I can't remember the exact companies, but I remember he held things like Coca-Cola and Duracell and things like that for a huge amount of time. And it's just that compounding interest over a huge number of years.
Yeah, I wonder if the Duracell battery that he first invested in has still got energy because they do last for quite some time. It's probably a bunny still running around.
I think that's Energizer, isn't it? The Energizer bunny.
Oh
but
crap! Yeah, yeah. Sorry, guys. Please don't sue me if if we were going to get a contract with Duracell. But yeah, wild stuff.
But I mean, some of the so I got some of the things here that happened. So let's have a look at a policy and trade announcement. So with Boeing and General Electric, in February and March, Trump-linked accounts purchased at least $600,000 worth of Boeing and GE stock. Then in May, Trump publicly announced a massive trade deal committing China to buy hundreds of Boeing aircraft powered by GE engines. Both stocks climbed following the announcement. With Iran war, I think this was from Reuters, financial data showed that Trump's accounts heavily bought stock during the price dip in March, right as geopolitical tensions escalated into conflict with Iran. The S&P dropped by 8% and bottomed out, at which point the portfolio loaded up on equities before the market rebounded 19% to record highs. It's just full of these. So another one was Oracle. Filing showed purchase of at least 1 million in Oracle stock. Exactly 10 days later, Trump publicly promoted and praised Oracle's 14 billion cloud computing and AI infrastructure investment in Saudi Arabia, after which the stock surged by 33%. And there's just loads of these, Dell Technologies, Micron, Apple, and maybe it's all completely coincidental, but it seems like accounts linked to Trump made purchases, and then days or weeks later, he makes an announcement, and then the stock rallies. So it's not like I mean, it's not like he's some retail trader where, was it 95% of traders you lose 95% of their wealth in the first 95 days. It's like he's not just operating at like it doesn't seem to just be operating at a profit. It's like a huge profit. And it seems like many of these trades you just couldn't lose. But again,
Yeah.
is it just coincidence? But I mean, there must be some kind of conflict of interests going on somewhere.
If it walks like a duck, talks like a duck, and fucks like a duck, it's probably a duck, innit?
Well said, but wise ancient proverb.
I got it wrong though. It's quacks like a duck. But yeah, I mean, if you look at it for someone that people often will draw, what's the word? Draw similarities, differences between like Obama and Trump, and so according to sources, Obama placed his investments into blind trusts and simple index funds when he was in presidency. So that's a very different approach, right? It doesn't say what Michelle did with hers, though. Hey.
But yeah, it just seems really crazy because what could happen here, and we don't know, is this actually going on? Is it not? But it just looks a bit, it's not good optics. It's not a good look. And if he's making, or people tied to him are making just loads of money constantly doing this, then what's the plan? Just carry on doing it for the next couple of years until his term's over and just make billions and billions for him, his family. But who else does he tell about these things? Who knows? What's the plan? What's going on here? Maybe it's just, and then because US presidents are legally exempt from the primary conflict of interest statutes, he's not really doing anything wrong. So there's no law saying don't do it. But usually they're just, like I said, they're relying on the president to have that kind of, I don't know what you'd call it, but just to be right and conscious and have the right amount of integrity not to do this kind of thing. Because there then does become a conflict of interest where it's like, I want to make money on the side, but then to do that, I have to announce different things or do different actions that might not be for the good of the country. And the thing is, even if something went wrong and in some way there was something illegal, then as we saw with the previous administration, it's all right, because just before you're about to leave, you just pardon yourself and your family of any wrongdoing for like the last 50 years or whatever. And I don't know, it just seems so bizarre. And
it sounds like a good job. How do I apply?
It's a bit tricky, but I don't know.
I thought it might be. That's a shame.
And like I said at the beginning as well, it's something that when I read about it, I was like, this is bonkers, because it's huge amounts of money that's being made. And just the frequency of trading as well, doing like 40 trades a day, that's a lot.
Yeah.
And you'd think this would be bigger news, but it just isn't. And it's not.
Even the people that are not involved necessarily, like with Trump stuff, the guy who's managing his accounts, managing his trades, all of that, like surely he's going to have people that he's given this information to as well, right? So if he's getting, assuming he is getting this information, which I mean, maybe he isn't, maybe he has just figured out a way of predicting the future, in which case you probably wouldn't spend all of your time like trading, would you, if you could literally predict the future? I mean, there's other stuff you could do, like lots of other fun things.
Yeah, for sure. And also to put that many trades on, that's like a big team of people that's working on this. And
Yeah,
friends would tell friends would tell friends.
exactly. So, it's definitely not cricket.
Yeah, and I know it's like sometimes if we mention Trump and say something not nice, we'll have a comment. Someone says, "Oh, I can't watch you anymore because you said something bad about Trump," and it's like, but I'm pretty sure this isn't like a TDS, Trump derangement syndrome kind of thing. It's just something that's happening that just doesn't look right.
Yeah.
Not
Why
saying
don't
that
you?
he isn't like better than the opposition would have been, but I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I think we've made it pretty clear many times, or at least I have, that all politicians are pretty much scumbags here on Temporally Scripted program. And as we know, power corrupts, and absolute power corrupts absolutely. So it's inevitable. It's kind of human nature, isn't it, of the way things are going to be. And I think that is the way it is. If you look at the law of the universe, 80-20 pretty much applies to everything. So no matter what we do, change, whatever, there's never going to be a time where 100% of people are prosperous. It's just impossible. And when I started to actually look at that and look at the things that applies to, it's kind of quite freeing, because you understand that there is never a place where everybody has what they need. Really, it's just not possible. It's the way the world is. It's the way existence is.
Yeah, and I guess that's that's through human civilization, that's through nature, that's through everything.
Exactly. Yeah. So it's an interesting one. So in other news this week, which of course will affect the markets as well, and it's two people that are of stupendous power for private individuals. We had the whole conclusion to the Musk versus Altman court case. So Musk lost in the end. He had his the whole thing came out originally where he was trying to get them to change their name to Closed AI, because originally it was an open source project, and he basically was accusing Sam Altman of doing lots of things to profit personally from it and turn it into a company that meant he could make immense profits at the pretty much at the cost of humanity, effectively.
Yeah.
Is what he was saying, which is probably quite a hard thing to convict someone on. And sometimes I think Musk just does shit to mess around. But it's an interesting story. I heard he was thinking of buying OnlyFans just to close it down.
Awesome.
Which is just random. Yeah, anyway, we won't go down that route straight away. But yeah, that's one legal round. There's still obviously the bigger argument to come. But yeah, OpenAI's mission, did it change? Was he right? Was he wrong? Should they change their name to Closed AI? Is Sam Altman a untrustworthy piece of shit?
Well, I mean, that's it. So basically what happened is Musk lost the case just on a technicality, because it was a statute of limitations. Because he said that OpenAI betrayed humanity, acted unethically. But yeah, he just waited too long to sue them, because the statute of limitations is 3 years. So whether Musk is in the right or not, it's literally that technicality which he's missed out on. But it looks like he's going to take it to appeal and see if they can do it again. But yeah, he was going to, I think it was 150 billion that he wanted to be stripped from OpenAI because of their actions, which 150 billion is quite a lot of money.
Yeah, that's almost as much as Trump made last month on his trades.
It sure is.
But yeah, I do like Musk. I think Musk for like global president, I would get behind. That's something I could get behind quite happily. He seems like an insane but interesting chap. Like, I liked it when someone was asking him about advertisers and investors on X and what he would do if advertisers started walking away, and he just paused for like 10 seconds. It's like, I don't care. Basically, yeah. If they want to walk away because I'm going to say what I want to say, then they can. That's fine. I don't need
Yeah,
more money. Whatever.
didn't he add like some kind of "go f yourself" at the end of that?
Basically, yeah. I think that was another occasion, but it was a similar kind of thing. I saw it cut, obviously, as you do in a shorts, next to when he was on Joe Rogan and took a big puff of a doobie.
Right.
Which again, he just seems like an interesting dude. I could just imagine him going off, from K-hole to business meeting, and just thoroughly being a character.
Yeah, and I mean, he does have vision, and he does look at the future in a very different way than politicians seem to. Because if he did end up doing something political, it's like he's thinking how to get us into space, and it might take another 20, 30 years but to get us to other planets and further, and how to use the latest technology for the better of humanity. Oh, that's the message that he puts across, and the image that he has. Whereas, like we said before, politicians really, in most countries, certainly in the West, they're looking forward, but only maybe 4 years till the next election, when they probably get voted out because they did a terrible job, because they didn't think about the future or really try and fix anything.
Yeah, and I mean, part of me calls bollocks on it anyway when people say, "Oh, it started out as a mission-driven lab that was not for profit." I mean, is that ever really the case? Did you really? Do we think they know? Oh yeah, we're a non-profit. We're just making all this technology to help humanity. It's like, or am I just a cynical bastard?
I mean, is there a lot of that kind of thought in Silicon Valley? Oh, we just want to make something really nice. It'll just really help everybody. We'll make it free. It's like the only free things that come out of Silicon Valley tend to be harvesting your data and then being sold to companies, or anything else that comes out of that place is like something you have to pay for. There's generally a cost to it.
Yeah, I mean, and that's one of the interesting things about the origin story of Google is like they didn't actually, when they started out, again, they said they didn't actually know the value of people's data at the time. Like that wasn't the original mission and intention. It was like a byproduct of what they were doing. Then suddenly they just realized, oh shit, if all of these people are searching for this stuff, we have their information, right? We understand.
Yeah, that's handy.
Their data, but it apparently was not the original mission. But I mean, I would even argue like companies like Greenpeace and these, and I refer to them as companies rather than charities because they are basically big conglomerate motherfucker companies. Yeah, fuck you, Greenpeace, basically on record. They basically just even they don't have a fully humanitarian focused mission. Their mission is to make profit, to keep operating. It's like, I think that's pretty much the case of anything. Success is so reliant in our society upon finance, whether it's funded or otherwise. It's so reliant upon that. It's like, so then if you're this lab, right, and you're OpenAI, you need money from somewhere. So even if that money is coming from Elon Musk, if he then wants access to something faster or better than the people that have never invested any money or donated any money, he's going to get it, right? Or if he says, oh, I'm willing to donate, someone else goes, I'm willing to donate $1 billion towards it. But what I want is for you to give me access to the stuff earlier, or I want testing information or whatever. Like, that's the way it is, right? And it's never fully open source anyway, because they decide when they're going to release stuff or when they're going to ship stuff. So there's always a behind closed doors thing anyway, and none of it can ever be perfect, can it? So yeah, I guess what I'm trying to say is, was it ever mission driven? Probably not. Yes, it was. The mission was to build something that makes shitloads of money. So yeah, in that sense, it was mission driven.
Well, I mean, yeah, and there's lots of different angles to it, I guess, isn't there?
I had this argument yesterday. I read a post where someone said you can't really do stuff in life, but people talk about commitment and consistency and blah blah blah, but unless you have like a purpose, then you'll never really succeed. And I just thought, I read it, and for a second I was like, Do I have a purpose? And then I started thinking, maybe I need a purpose. Maybe this is my. I have a purpose. I just don't fucking know what it is, and I don't have to write it down in a sentence to say this is my purpose. Do you know what I mean? It's just bollocks. Like these people that are making us think we've got a problem are exactly the people that are selling the book or the program or the course or whatever to solve the problem. So what they do is they clever with their words, make you feel like you've got a problem. Listen, if you're watching this and you don't have a purpose, you don't need one. It's not essential. Your purpose is to exist. That is the purpose, right? Is to exist and to experience. So anyway, I don't know how we ended up here.
Because that's clever marketing. Isn't that from... I can't remember. The guy who's Steve Jobs. Wasn't that part of his marketing? How he'd sort of... I'm sure it's Steve Jobs anyway, but you don't sell the product, you sell the problem. And so if you can convince people that they have a problem, that problem might not even exist. That problem might be really small. But if you can convince them of it, you can sell them something that is the solution. And like in the case that you've just said, like sell the course, the book, the video, whatever else it may be. And the world's full of that.
And I think AI exactly is that. If you break it down to like what AI does, if I'm writing a post now with AI, it takes me almost as long as it would to write one personally. The only difference is there's some level internally of you being able to blame the AI if something goes terribly wrong with the post. So it's not just your ego getting damaged when you post it, right? If you post something you write yourself and it's total dog shit and doesn't do anything, you think there's something wrong with you. If you create a post and it's like, it must be the AI missed something or something. Do you know what I mean? You're like outsourcing the responsibility.
And which is really handy.
Sure. And these things are very dangerous. And I think this kind of moves us into the next point, but I think we can talk about both of these things together, because the next thing we're going to talk about is AI and money and, you know, how much it's costing. But everything that they deliberately want us to become addicted and dependent on starts off cheap or free. Everything. Cigarettes, alcohol, whatever, right? Whatever it is, the internet, you name it. Well, maybe not the internet, but all of it becomes like, it starts free and then gets more expensive. But I question this, is like, what problem does AI actually solve that we really need solving? So it's exactly what you just said. It's like that we're being sold this problem that needs to be solved under the guise of freedom. But freedom isn't actually time. You know, people think having more time is freedom, but it's not really. Like if I said to you, what would you do if you had more freedom? You might say, oh, I'd go and play golf every day, or I'd go and
I would never say that.
No, pickleball, but whatever, right? Or sit in the pub, right? Whatever it would be. But then if you actually went and did that for like the next 10 days, you get to the end of the 10 days and be like, oh, actually, that's not what I want to do.
Yeah,
it's
maybe.
Like, so we get addicted to this idea of freedom and concept. And like, I think that's mostly, you know, what's everyone's dream? Freedom. What's everyone's biggest fear? Death. Okay, how do we, you know, how do we, and they tie together, right? Basically. So then, yeah, the whole, anyway, we're going down a massive tangent rabbit hole, which is what we do here.
That's a good one. It's interesting.
Scripted. But yeah, I feel like it's for, you know, a lot of it's just bollocks. And I read this post was by someone I respect as well. Like it was someone quite high up I respect. You know, and his whole mantra is, Simon Squibb, his name is like, have you got a dream? What's your dream? He has this whole thing. People ask me that question, what's my dream? I have no fucking idea how to answer that question. Do you? Do you have a picture in your head of like, if someone says, what's your dream? Do you go, I really want to, you know,
yeah, I don't exactly
feed African children so that they never, like, fuck off. I just want to have enough money and be cool to do what I want on a daily basis, you know?
Yeah, there is that, but I know there's been a lot of research done into maybe not having an exact dream, but thinking of a time in the future. Maybe it's a year down the line, you could space it out 10 years down the line, but picturing how you want your life to be at that point, down to the most minuscule details. So you wake up, what's it look like? What's what's the situation in that room? How is everything? You go,
Where's my gimp suit?
yeah, exactly. You go downstairs. What do you do? Make some breakfast. Get on with work. What's at work? All these different things. What does your house look like? What your family's there? What family? Who's in it? Any pets? But all this thing of like actually visualizing stuff like that in the future. Apparently, according to research, people are way more likely to get to that point if they have those kind of visualizations about it rather than not.
Sure. And I'm not saying don't visualize, but what I'm saying is the way that the whole industry puts purpose together and says you should have a purpose, you should have a dream, is like we're all going to go and solve world hunger or something. So like it belittles the thought of I just want to have a nice big house with a swimming pool and like, you know, gates and turrets to keep the immigrants out and like whatever. I'm joking, ladies and gentlemen, just to put that, just you know,
some guard dogs, and
you know, partly.
Union Jack flying or St. George Cross. Can be like those English guys that have like the gate posts and there's like a lion on each gate post to some like council house or something.
3 lions, of course. Yeah.
3 lions.
But yeah, like I think there's this whole thing of like you must have a purpose, you know, this and this. It's like you can, sure, you can have this deep, you know, need to do that, right? I do enjoy helping people. I get a buzz out of helping people, solving people's problems, like making their situation better, relieving pain from people, right? Not as in like a massage way. I've tried that before, got in trouble, you know, still got the
restraining order.
Restraining orders, yeah. But again, relieving pain in even in a business sense or whatever else, I enjoy that. But it's not like some deep purpose behind it. And I think, yeah, sometimes people just try and make it seem like that when it's not really. Purpose is just to exist and to experience.
Yeah, so life is the purpose itself and how you conduct yourself in the journey through that life.
Exactly. Yeah. Like if you were God and you could do anything, you get bored pretty quickly, right? So then after that, you'd be like, okay, I'm going to limit my ability to travel through, to see time, to perceive all time in one. I'm going to limit my ability to move faster than anyone, whatever, right? And then eventually it'd be like playing a game, Minecraft or whatever. You complete everything with all of these different things missing. So complete Minecraft, but you're never allowed to make an iron block or complete.
Right.
Do you see what I mean? Complete this game, but you're only allowed to walk everywhere instead of run, for example. And then eventually you'll have done all of those because you like there's an infinite space and time or whatever, and then you'll be like, this is bored. So then the only thing left would be to limit yourself and then forget that you are actually that God, that source, and then because then you can experience without knowing that that's what you are, right? Anyway,
yeah, and you'd have to get rid of memory and perceive everything like it's new and like you're seeing it for the first time all over again.
Yeah, and then that does link in a lot of ways to karma, doesn't it? Right? Because then karma's not like in this life. It's like if I subject you to, you know, tickling your balls or something without permission, and you and you're like, you know, you got PTSD because of this. At some point, it will be I'll experience it the other way around because I'm from the same life source as you, right? So that's how karma works and all of that. And it kind of then they all connect as a result.
Right. You should definitely write a book on this.
We've definitely
using examples like that.
Say if I
every analogy somehow relates to like the unwanted tickling of balls.
I just think as well how funny it will be for the YouTube algorithm to try and YouTube, that sounds like something else. YouTube algorithm to try and categorize us as we went from the Elon Musk, Sam Altman court case into the depths of existence at its very core from my viewpoint, my unscholared viewpoint. Anyway, where do we go from there? Help me bring it back, Adam.
Yeah, I don't know. Well, I think what took us to that path was starting out with what is the purpose of AI? What is it actually doing? Because I think we're going to talk about the kind of blitzscaling that's going on, and like you mentioned a few examples like of things I think on the internet. So things like Amazon, for example, and various other companies, same as like Uber. So I don't know if you remember, but I remember when Uber started in the UK, and it's like you download the app, oh, you get a free Uber ride. Every so often you get discounts. Get someone to sign up, oh, you get a free ride. Sign up with a different account. Oh, right, well, I can get another free ride, you know? And so they were doing all of this and operating at a loss. But what that allowed them to do was push the company further and further. So it becomes that household name that everybody knows. And then you just hit them with the full price. And those times of free rides and everything else are gone. But then they've become the main or the only company occupying that space, and so you have no choice to use them. So blitzscaling, it comes from during the Second World War. The Germans had a tactic called blitzkrieg, and what that was is like, rather than an old-fashioned army that would just move really slowly with all the supplies, everything that they need to last for months, they just load up on the bare essentials, weapons and just enough fuel to get to the end of the bit of land that they wanted to take, and then later some more trucks, etc., would come with all the supplies that they need, and it just allowed them to move really quickly, just tear through like huge swathes of land at a time. And that's where it's come from, and that's what a lot of businesses have done: operate on the bare minimum or a loss, just so they become the main thing. And that's always happened, but it seems with AI, it's just happening to such a scale that it's just insane.
Yeah.
You know, so...
Yeah, and it's also dependency then, because people get so dependent upon using AI and outsourcing their thinking to AI in every single question. Like right now, apparently on most dating apps, it's just because everyone wants the perfect answer. It's just like ChatGPT talking to ChatGPT back and forth.
Yeah,
like, oh, what shall I say
imagine.
to this person? What shall I say to this? Right. And then people meet and they're like two totally different people because
you've got nothing to talk about.
Yeah, ChatGPT did it all. So I think it is exactly that. It's like, and I think it's also down to moving us towards like a 6G world where they have all the information, the data. We've all got a handset. It's basically like being plugged into the Matrix, but it's not.
Yeah.
There's no actual plugs or wires or cables. It's just, this is your plug into the Matrix, or what we're doing now. It's like with you, it can hear you, it's got all the information, it's controlling you with the information that it's given you. And like humans have certain click run things that we respond to, and we will act based on what happens, and that's always going to be the way. And it's the same thing, right? Oh yeah, try it, here's, take it for little money or a tiny amount of money, and then bam, before you know it, it's like that old dodgy friend at a party that you're like trying to be good, and he's like, do you want a bump? You're like, right. Oh, I'm all right, mate. And then bump done, and then the next thing you're £50 deep. It's just the way it is, right?
Yeah, exactly. But I mean, in the case of OpenAI, that's like just the company themselves, they're projected to lose 14 billion in 2026 alone. And that's not taken into account all the years leading up to this. So they've not, I mean, yeah, cumulative losses are expected to reach 115 billion by 2029 at the current state and the current sort of trend that they're on. And it's just crazy how much. And then it's how, because they're betting on this thing that they can get everything big enough and then switch and make it profitable. Claude apparently has reached profitability somehow, but I think because Claude, they've been using more kind of like business customers a lot more than ChatGPT does, which I think is a big difference. And they were like a smaller company to begin with.
I think they did less research on the front end and were probably in less markets. Like it's one of the reasons that Sora, for example, OpenAI closed Sora, the video stuff, because it's to be able to focus more down in one area. So I think like they are the ones that invented a lot of the technology and figured out a lot of the things that were happening, and then other businesses were able to copy from that, you see. So I think some of it is that. But yeah, again, they just know that it's such a big global opportunity that eventually it will come back the other way. It's an interesting one to watch.
But then it's that thing of, will it? Because how long can you keep operating at a loss, going like, no, this company's really good, it's going to be massive and really valuable soon, and then just saying to investors and VCs, whatever, oh no, just keep putting money in, it's great, honestly, this is a great company, we've got no worries. And then with that money, you're carrying on building huge data centers with huge amounts of cooling and everything else that goes into it, and all the electricity that we need to run it. And how long can you continue that? How long until people go, look, it's been a long time. Like we keep putting this money in, but what are we getting out of it? You know, and I mean, OpenAI apparently spent roughly $1.69 last year for every dollar that it earned.
Wow.
And that's
and it earned some money as well, right? It's not like didn't earn any money, you know.
Exactly, no, and so I guess we're all doing the same. And I don't know about you, but I'll often hit like a weekly limit or whatever using Claude. Okay, that's only like a £20 subscription, but that's a lot more than £20 worth of compute that I've run through Claude in that week.
You know, yeah, for sure.
That's going to be like hundreds.
Yeah, you're talking more. Like, even if you did it on the API cost, you'd be probably hundreds. I know I've been into the thousands. I think one week it was like 4K on a $200 a month subscription.
Which, I mean, that's...
a week of compute. Yeah, and I think this is why, you know, a lot of people now are building the systems that will keep them sustained from it for quite a long time. It's crazy stuff. Would be interesting to see. I guess if you went back to .com, it would be a similar thing.
I think it would
spread across more companies.
Yeah, and I think that's why people worry about a crash coming, because I can't remember the percentage, but I'm sure it's like around 30% or something like that, that these big tech companies that are mainly AI based, that they take up of like the NASDAQ and S&P, it's like huge amounts. It's like the whole stock market at the moment is being propped up by these tech companies. And if there's a crash, that just like wipes out so much. And think of all the people in America who've got like the 401k and it's invested in stocks, and then it just drops. You know, and it's like, how much did it drop? Don't know. Could it be like 40% overnight? Don't know, because there's going to be all the knock-on effects if it does. And it's whether these companies can just keep kicking the can down the road for long enough to get that sort of escape velocity to actually make profit and not collapse.
Yeah, everyone should go and invest their money in Ask Jeeves. It's going to come back in a big way.
Yeah.
All right. Just you know, come back. I'm still waiting. I've got my money sat there in Ask Jeeves. Still waiting. Right. And it's not back. But yeah, so let's before we jump into our weekly top fives, let me bring a lighter story to you that's made my absolute week. Maybe my year. In fact, it's funny how sports fans are, because I love my football. My favorite team is Portsmouth FC on the south coast of the UK. And I'm probably happier about the misfortune that's happened to our arch rivals this week than I would be about us winning things, which is quite funny, isn't it? In the way that football is as an opiate of the people. So for those of you that haven't heard, there's been a thing going on this week called Spygate, where there's a football team in the UK called Southampton. or scummers, as we like to call them in Portsmouth. And they cheated, basically. They sent someone to a football match, to a training field. They spied on their opposition. They were caught of doing it 3 other times throughout the season, and they admitted it. And as a result, they got kicked out of the playoffs in the UK, which means that they've lost out on anywhere between 200 and 250 million pounds, assuming that they would have made promotion. And it's just beautiful. It's like the internet is meme central this week. After they won the semi-final game against the team that they spied on, they were doing lots of like binoculars and all of these things because the guy was caught using binoculars, and they've been banged to rights and also given a -4 deduction. But the funniest thing about this, and the one meme I'm going to share with you guys so you can see it on screen, is their club crest. So this is Southampton FC's club crest. As you can see, it's a nice tree, you know, little flower, whatever. There's a lot going on in here. It looks like it was designed by a 5-year-old. And then this is their top secret agent spy that they sent. I don't know how they spotted him here, to be honest.
He's so inconspicuous.
Yeah, he's so well blended in with his little suspicious face there, hiding behind the tree. So someone's helpfully designed Southampton a new badge, which is this one, which I think, you know, is much more fitting. They've moved from this to this. Lovely.
I like it. It's just proper like British football banter, humor, all that kind of thing. That's just incredibly funny.
Yeah, and it makes them the laughing stock of the whole football league. It probably won't be forgotten about for at least 40 or 50 years, such is the way that football fans are. And yeah, so better than winning a trophy, and probably will level the playing field a little bit between us and them.
Yeah, well, that's
so much money.
It seems like it's really going to be a problem for them for years to come, I guess, because I remember you saying like loads of our players are leaving anyway because they'd had a pay cut, and then this happens, and then they have less money from here going forward. So that could hold them back like indefinitely, which I'm sure you're very, very sad about.
Oh, I'm so gutted. And of course, I don't want them to go into the same kind of financial problems that Portsmouth had, where they almost went out of business, because you want to be able to play them and beat them.
Right.
So ideally, they would always just be the same level as us, but just a little bit worse. You know, that's really where you want them. You don't want them like 2 leagues behind. You just want them close enough that you can keep beating them twice a season.
Right, every year for a decade.
Yeah, and it's crazy. Their fans are going and like burning their own shirts outside the stadium, cutting them up with scissors on the internet. Like it's a proper scandal.
Jeez.
Where people are even ashamed to support them, which personally I feel like they always should have been ashamed to support Southampton. But that's just me as a Portsmouth fan. And joking aside, yeah, crazy. I mean, I do feel for their fans as well. You know, sorry.
Yeah. Do you really feel for their fans? Or you've
in the sense that they've been massively let down by the ownership of their club, because obviously the fans have got tickets for the final, all of that kind of stuff. They didn't send anyone to spy on anyone. They pay their £40 a game and £60 a shirt every year and all of this, and they pay to keep that football club running. And they've decided to go and like, I mean, how much of an advantage can you actually get from going and watching someone's training session? It's bizarre.
Yeah, it's not like, because I know these kinds of things do happen in different sports as well. So I remember hearing about something in Formula One where I think it was like a Ferrari engineer, something like that. He sold like the blueprints of either a part of the car or the whole car to like a rival team, and that was like a really big thing. So it does happen.
Yeah,
But that's like a really, with that would be like specific technical drawings that you can go, oh right, so their exhaust manifold is like this. Oh, interesting. That's better than ours. Let's copy it. But like you say, I don't know how good like Barry hiding behind the tree with his dodgy surveillance equipment. How much like, oh yeah, but kicking a ball. Yeah, kicking it again. I don't know. But what's he going to get from it? Whereas the cost is huge.
Yeah, and I feel like they have been heavily punished for something. Really, it's like probably extreme, which is funny. But then they also did things like when it first came out, they just said that the guy had gone rogue. He's like a young employee. They were like, "Oh, he went rogue, and no one told him to go." And then it came out that they'd actually done it 3 times at least this season. It's not a good look, is it? Right? And then so you've thrown one of your junior employees under the bus. And then it turns out that actually it was coming from the manager.
Yeah, wow.
Crazy. So yeah,
that's not a good look.
Scum Hampton, whatever it is. Anyway, moving on. So that's our funny story of the week. Join me, even if you don't like football, join me in rejoicing at that situation. But this moves us into our weekly segment of top 5. So what have we got on the top 5s this week, Adam?
Okay, I thought it would be quite interesting to do a top 5 healthy foods that weren't quite so healthy after all.
I'm waiting for the week where you come in and say, I thought it would be really boring to do this top 5, so we're going to do it today.
Yeah.
It's the top 5 colours that are the same as similar to beige. Right?
Yeah, I might do that next week. Here we have off-white, eggshell white.
The top 5 shapes.
Number 1, triangle. Number 2, square. Okay, that's it, folks. See you next time. Like, share, subscribe.
Anyway, go ahead and ruin my diet, because I'm sure you are going to call me out on at least 4 of these 5.
Maybe, but I don't. Some of these might surprise you, some might not. But the first one is just fruit juice and smoothies. So it always sounds like it's some kind of wellness drink, but it's a lot like having a dessert. And yeah, okay, it can be one of your 5 a day and all of that kind of thing. It seems like a good choice, and you're not having cola, you're having apples, mangoes, oranges, whatever else. But the problem is that it delivers a lot of free sugar all at once. Because it's not that like fruit is bad, but you're not going to like wake up in the morning and go, oh, right, I've got some oranges and I'll just sit around in my pajamas and eat 6 oranges. You just wouldn't. So but and also when you're eating it, you have all the fiber, you have everything else that's in it. Whereas when it's just juice, it's just like just a load of sugar hitting your system instantly, which is not great. And so even like the NHS says that fruit juice and smoothies should be limited to 150 ml per day, which is like 5 fluid ounces for anyone in the US. Wow. And that still only counts as 1 of your 5 a day. And so
it's crazy.
It seems like this amazing thing, but it's just, it's not. And it sounds like, oh, well, have a healthy breakfast, have a big glass of orange and things like that. But you're having a huge amount of sugar.
Yeah.
Yeah, basically. And then you're going to get the crash. I mean, so all of this is not going to be great for a number of reasons, maybe like blood sugar, teeth, calorie intake. And yeah, it's just liquid sugar, basically, but it seems like it comes with a yoga mat or something. And it just doesn't.
Clever marketing as well. Yeah, problem that we don't have. Makes sense.
Because it's like some of those smoothie things, and it's oh well, this has got like I don't know how many. Let's pick a silly number.
755 million blueberries,
all crammed into one little bottle, and it's like, well, I wouldn't eat 755 million blueberries,
Yeah,
why do
innocent
I need that
smoothies
much? Yeah.
Owned by Coca-Cola. Yeah,
it's really not so innocent.
Yeah.
Okay,
yeah.
So the next one. But this was just low-fat foods. And so this was a big thing, especially in the 80s, the 90s, early 2000s, probably still goes on a bit now. And so the whole thing was having too much fat is really bad for you. So full-fat yogurt could be dangerous, all kinds of things. So what they did is they went, okay, well, we can make low-fat alternatives. Sounds great. But then when you take the fat out of something and then you taste it and you go, yeah, I don't like the flavor. The texture's a bit weird, and it doesn't feel like I've eaten anything. I'm not being satiated by eating it. So we thought, right, well, what can we do? Well, what can we do to make this better? I know, sugar. so we just started putting loads of sugar into this stuff, and so you ended up with this thing where it seems really healthy, low-fat food. Oh, amazing! That sounds great. However, it's just sort of full of sugar. Plus, they'd use things like starches, flavorings, various artificial goodness that isn't really good for you. And then are you getting much benefit from the reduced fat if your intake of sugar and various other things has gone upwards?
Yeah, because I mean, fat isn't really a problem, is it? In the sense that sugar is. Sugar's like a much worse problem than fat, really, in terms of health.
Yeah. I mean, it depends.
Like an avocado is all fat, isn't it, basically? But it's good fat mostly, apart from the 80 liters of water it took to grow it. But
yeah, and I think it depends on the fats. It depends on the sugars as well, because when you consume some kinds of sugars, there's actually like good stuff in there. But when it's just like raw, well, not raw, but refined white sugar, that's really bad in all kinds of ways.
Saccharin.
Yeah, which again we probably want to be avoiding, really. Okay.
So
anyway,
what's next? There's a theme here, isn't there? So I think there's a theme coming here. What's next?
The next one is breakfast cereals, which will be no surprise to you. And it's like the morning dessert in a cardboard blazer. As we've talked about before, that many times actually, just how strange the breakfast cereal things are. So it was always this thing. They'd market it with, oh, there's loads of energy. It's whole grain, fortified with vitamins. It's a family breakfast. It's even heart healthy. And it's like, yeah, it is. But like some of those cereals are fine, like sort of shredded wheat, something like that. Not too bad. But the other ones are just full of sugar, like an insane amount. So a good example was like Kellogg's Crunchy Nut Cornflakes. That has 35 grams of sugar per 100 grams.
I remember when I was a kid, I used to have Weetabix, and I'd like put the sugar on top, so that it'd basically be like at least a 1 millimeter layer all the way across. Yeah,
I did that with shredded wheat, just sort of sprinkle the sugar over the top. Yeah, either that or I'd be eating things like Frosties or Cocoa Pops, and it's just, does it have vitamins? Yeah. Is it low fat? Yeah. Does it have an obscene amount of sugar? Definitely.
Yeah, what I used to like to do is, if I was being, a bit better and a bit more conscious on my sugar intake, I'd just have cornflakes with sugar on top instead of Frosties.
It's a good combination. I used to eat them dry, put sugar on and eat them like dry cornflakes with sugar.
Interesting.
I don't like the texture when you put like milk with cereal, just this sloppy like.
It tastes even more like chicken food. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's fair. What have we got in at number 4?
Number 4, well, veggie chips. You see those things where it's like root vegetable crisps or lentil chips, pea snacks, beetroot crisps, baked not fried style snacks, all these things. And because it comes from like root vegetables or something like that, it gives this image of like some kind of farmer's market with like the finest, healthiest ingredients prepared lovingly in this brown looking packet that looks almost like something from a health food shop.
Mm-hmm.
But it's not, because at the end of the day, just like it's the same process that they would do with potatoes, which is cut them very finely, fry the hell out of them, and then cover them in salt and flavorings. And that's what you're getting. So at the end of it, when you're eating these things by the handful anyway, whether you're having potato, or you're having like beetroot, it just doesn't really make a difference. It's like just the amount of like oil that you're getting with that and salt. It's not really much more healthier. Slightly, but it's minuscule.
So you mean I can't count that as one of my 2 a day?
Was your plan to have like the smoothie that you buy from a shop, a new pack of veggie chips,
And
and that's
potatoes.
two a day?
And potatoes. Yeah.
Oh well, yeah, I guess you could do really.
That's 3 a day, right? At least.
I think you're onto a winner.
Yeah. What if I have extra potatoes? Anyway, yeah, my body's built differently because I'm quite Irish. So we process potatoes, which were from South America originally. We process them in a way.
Yeah, was there a lot of Irish folk in South America? Is that where?
I think that's just where potatoes came from originally, right? I think.
Yeah.
I know this because I got my history from Blackadder, and when like Walter Raleigh first brings them in, they're like smoking potatoes and stuff because they don't know what they're for. So
I think they did. And people and people of like the Andes, because of the altitude, there's not many crops that would grow in that region. Potatoes grew really well, and so over time their bodies started to adapt and become better at digesting the amount of starch that's in potatoes.
Do you know where the Andes are?
At the end of your armies.
Ah, yes. Beautiful. Anyway, sorry. Continue, sir.
But yeah, and potatoes were really important for like the Inca and various other civilizations at the time because it was like their staple food. And you can still find like potatoes that have been preserved for like thousands of years at like the bottom of lakes and things like that from where some Incan dude years ago was from them in.
After chopping someone's head off to make it rain or something.
Probably, yeah.
That makes sense.
I don't know if the Incans were quite as intense as like the Mayans, but Mayans definitely would.
They were like they're chilled, sort of.
Yeah, possibly. Yeah. I don't know how much we know about them. I don't know a great deal. Just know the Mayans were really intense.
The temporally scripted catchphrase, ladies and gentlemen. We don't really know about that. We're going to talk about it anyway.
Yeah, for an hour.
What's next, my friend? Round us out.
All right. So number 5 is protein bars and granola bars. It's one of those things, so because you'll see it's marketed as like a fitness snack, meal replacement, high protein fuel, all those kinds of things. And they do all vary in standards. And maybe if someone's like training really hard, it could be pretty good and it's better than skipping a meal. But the nutrition is kind of messy on them because many of them, they provide a lot of extra calories, sugars, added fats, and then they just have extra protein. So it's a little bit like you've made the sort of mix for kind of like a bar, some kind of snack, and then you've just thrown some protein powder in it. And that's what a lot of them are. So there have been ones before where they've like compared them to Snickers, and they found like the calorie counts to be similar, which is not great. And I think also it's that thing, you have these kinds of snacks, or just like in the old days, you'd have like Lucasade Sport, and there'd be an advert with like a football player. It's like, oh, after training, I love the Lucasade Sport, and it's like, yeah. And in some ways, if you've just been playing football for like 4 hours, maybe replacing some carbs and energy and things could be a good thing. But the difference is that most people going into these shops are just sort of, they haven't just been training for 4 hours. they've been sat at a desk or at school all day or whatever else. And then it's like, oh, right, just have a Lucozade Sport and my protein bar. And, it's like, it's really unnecessary calories. And yeah, so it's just that basically. And really, if I would say if you are training, there are some really reputable kinds of protein bars that actually do the job that they're meant to, but there's a lot where it's just crammed full of sugar again and loads of fat that might not be from a good source.
Yeah, so my top tip for everybody watching this, just eat more animals, ladies and gentlemen. Just eat more animals.
It's probably the way to go. Or eggs. You can always, or eggs or actual whey protein.
The superfood that is eggs,
yeah. Vitamin D, protein, lots of good stuff in eggs.
Perfect. Well, that wraps us up. It's ruined my 5 a day, but there you go. What can you do? Thank you very much, everybody. As always, we appreciate you, every single one of you that watches to the end. Don't forget, give us a like, a subscribe. We'll be back again next week with more from the crazy world that's going on, and we'll certainly be going down some temporally scripted tangents. Until next time, Adam Garcia, thank you.
Yeah, thank you. See you next time, folks.
Goodbye.